Okay, welcome to the
Two Girls, One Book Club podcast. We did it!
That
we
was
did
better.
it. We forgot what our podcast
At
was
least
called.
we got the name right this time.
That we did. Thank goodness.
I feel like the first couple of these are just going to be hot mess, and then eventually we'll get the hang of it, and
That's
it'll be
okay.
great.
Will we though? I think we're two hot messes already. Late to everything. I was late to this podcast, but I have a good reason because I have drama with the DMV. Because guess what, Raven?
What was wrong with it?
Okay, so they made sure that my VIN was good.
Correct.
They gave me an emergency permit for my car. It does not say when it expires. But they are like, well, the reason you could not be able to register your car is because they don't have proof of insurance. Like maybe your
And you said you have
VIN
insurance,
number
yeah.
is wrong. And I double checked after the lady left and I was like, it's right. So I'm going to send it in again. But she's like, they could revoke your registration. I'm like, what does that even mean? My registration's already expired by 3, almost 4 months.
You're just going to be at work and you're just going to see them towing your car away.
Don't say that. That did happen once. My 30-day thing expired, but I was like, I literally just got it done. I just don't have the stickers yet. And
yeah.
it was a whole thing, and I don't know. Anyways, me and my car.
Well, at least there's a car drama, not family drama, so I'll fill you in on my family drama later when we're not recording a podcast.
Well, you can tell them what happened to you in Vegas.
Nope, let's just move along.
No, you have to tell them what happened in Vegas.
Post that on.
It's just no, you have to post the pictures.
Oh, I'll post my sister's picture. I changed that to her profile picture on my phone, so when she calls me now, it pops up.
You
as
can
her.
just tell them what happened. You don't have to. You don't have to show them.
Show them. I forgot to tell Nick yesterday.
I was gonna tell him if he came today because he was like, "Oh, Thunder Down Under," and everybody at work was like, "What is that?" And I was like,
and then that's why when that's why I was like,
I wasn't there that day when he asked, but I was like, I know what that is.
Yes.
I got.
Who was it? It was me, and I don't know who else I was with that day.
Probably Willie.
Probably. I don't know. I work
Maybe
with her a
Alina.
lot.
I don't know. It was the day that I didn't work, so
Which is not often. It's like Fridays, unless I was covering for you or something. I don't know.
I have no idea.
I'm taking too many shifts this next week. I had to take a picture of the calendar so I know when to show up at the right time.
What other days are you working?
Well, I'm just working. I picked up Jessica's this Saturday, but then I have
Oh, you're doing Lexus's on
Lexus's Tuesday. I picked up Michelle's next week, and then the week after I have yours when you're in Colorado.
I have not planned very well for that trip.
That's okay. I don't even have a hotel booked for Taylor Swift yet.
I have
That's
a hotel
month
booked.
back.
I just haven't saved up any money for this trip, and
This
it's
is
in 2 weeks. I
That's
leave
okay.
2 weeks from today, so that's great.
Yeah,
So I
good.
gotta go sell my plasma, sell my soul.
Great.
I'm so scared.
It'll be so good, and then we'll have matching scars on our elbow.
Oh, fun! I can't wait.
We can go get a matching tattoo, and it'll say "Needle Twins."
No, I want an ACOTAR tattoo. We need matching
That's
ones.
fair. Yes.
I've seen somewhere it's the different wings of all of them.
Yes.
So you can get Reese's. Reesand. I hate his
I
full
have
name. But then I just hate his full name.
My
love
cousin
Reese,
calls
but
him Ryzen, and I was like, that is wrong.
That's how I pronounced it because I
Right.
don't do the audiobooks.
Yeah.
I read
Well, she didn't
them.
either, but then we looked it up. I watched a YouTube video on how to pronounce all of them. And then there's one that I watched that Sarah did where it's pronouncing all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And she says it's Reesand or Reese. And I went,
Just Reese.
Reese.
So I'll do Cassian's.
Cassian.
Lord of Bloodshed. I can't wait to read the 5th one. You need to
I'm getting there. It's going to be so good.
Are you?
I am.
What chapter are you on now?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, that's because you're doing it on your phone
That's because
now.
I'm doing it on my phone. I've been doing both on my phone and the actual physical book, and it's just all funky formatted. So
It's so good, but there's 82 chapters in it.
I know it's really long, but it's good.
I finished it. I stayed up until 3 in the morning and slept for 3 hours and then went to work, but it was worth it.
I'm gonna have to read more tonight, and then this weekend at some point.
We will probably mention ACOTAR in every single podcast.
Every single podcast, because
It's
it's
the
the
best.
best.
It's the best. Next, I like Harry Potter.
Oh, Harry Potter. I feel like we should just... I mean, Harry Potter's been out for a long time, but I feel like at some point we should just go through Harry Potter.
Does that mean I get to reread all 7 books?
We will reread all 7 and we'll record an episode for each book.
That's
We'll
going to
just-
be a long one, but we have to do that for ACOTAR.
Well, we have to.
And then when
yes.
you reread, well, not reread, when you read Twilight.
When I read Twilight, which should be... I mean, if I'm not through with Twilight in a couple months when it comes around for your pick for book club.
do you think
I'll
I'm
read
going to
it
pick
then.
Twilight?
Because then I feel like we have to watch it, though.
Yeah, but also, when it comes back around to my turn, I get October. I get spooky month.
We have to do Twilight.
Just kidding. We're reading The Shining, everyone.
Shining, everyone.
Everybody,
Watch it.
I can't read a scary book. I feel like I'm gonna have to like leave it outside at night and be like, no, thank you.
We'll just leave it at the daycare. Only read at work.
We only read The Shining around children.
Sorry, Jessica. Don't listen to our podcast.
But I guess we can get into the book, but we should do content warning.
Yes.
This is, I don't think it's YA. It's an adult
I don't think so.
fiction. It's
Yeah.
a little smutty.
There weren't any trigger warnings this time.
Yeah.
Just...
Possible explicit language. This is a podcast for 18 and up. So,
Yeah.
like, if you don't like romance, if you don't like smutty romance, then, you know, like, don't listen.
I mean, eventually we'll do some other books too, but
For now,
for
you
now,
know,
this is it. So, but I feel like just language and the sexual content, there weren't any trigger warnings
Yep.
for this book, so...
And the book is Fault Line by Kai Stevens. Kai? K?
Kai?
K-I.
K-I.
Is it? Well, the girl's
Oh.
name is Kaya in the book.
Yeah. So it was
So-
just Kai.
Okay. Just Kai.
Just Kai. Okay, so I will just read the summary then for what this is about, and then we can start talking about it.
Yeah.
So, the summary for this is Kaya Karas has always excelled in the classroom. She's a born and bred overachiever, chronic overthinker, and full-time seeker of academic validation. I really resonated with the overthinker part. That was the only part of her that I was like, oh yeah, same.
Mine is the obsessive compulsive disorder because I also have clinically diagnosed. I'm not like a self-diagnosed person. I was clinically diagnosed with OCD. And so I was like, yeah, I get that. I'm a very
Yeah.
anxious person. So that's what I really liked about Kaya. We'll get into that more
Yes.
later, but
But being top of the class doesn't happen without making sacrifices. So when it comes to relationships, she's only looking for something casual and transactional, a way to shut off her brain for a little while and finally get some much needed sleep. That is, until she spends just one night with Holden Becker, a talented hockey player with a sharp wit and a secret soft spot for her. Holden Becker plays by his own rules both on and off the ice. He's used to getting what he wants, whether it's the attention of his coach or the admiration of his teammates. But when he and Kaya both secure top marks for their research proposals, they're forced to share an academic advisor. Their rivalry quickly turns into passion, and they find themselves in a precarious situation, hooking up behind closed doors, all while trying to keep their relationship strictly casual. 3 years of rivalry, just one night to cut the tension. When the ground beneath them begins to shake, will they hold on or let go?
I love how they call each other by their last names the entire book.
It really gives me some Harry Potter vibes.
Yeah. I love a like forced proximity.
Yes.
And then they're like forced to like each other pretty much.
I do too.
So that's one of my favorite things. But
So I guess we can start with what were your thoughts on Kaya and Holden when we started reading it?
I liked Kaya because it's like my sad girl books. I can really relate to
Right.
her character because of like the obsessive compulsive disorder, not being able to sleep because of it, being like a huge perfectionist.
Yes, and just you can see, I thought it was really well written how you can tell her overthinking, and it's like quite obvious versus
Yeah.
like, oh, she overthinks, so we never know.
And she doesn't like Holden because he doesn't overthink things, and
Yeah.
she thinks that he's just getting everything handed to him when really he's just like, he just does it and he's just like, whatever happens.
He's just like,
go with the flow.
yeah, he's totally mellow, go with the flow, and she's just like,
And like
all the time.
his parents are like super well off. So is like her
So are hers.
family,
Yeah.
but she thinks some of the stuff that like academic wise is like for him is because his parents are like super well known people.
Right.
I think it's weird that her mom's like a fashion designer, isn't she?
Yeah.
Or is that a different book? We read so many hockey books. Sometimes they're all just a jumbled mess.
Nope. That is Like I Never Said.
That's right. I keep getting these two like kind of mixed up. They're both great. I want to do that one next.
We're gonna do that one next week.
That's like one of my favorites. But
That's my favorite for the year.
his dad's like a hotshot
Yeah.
lawyer. I don't remember what our parents do. Maybe we'll find
Something
it.
where they make a lot of money.
Yes. Her dad's like never around though.
No.
And I think her mom died. Everybody's mom dies in these books, you know?
I know, it's really unfortunate actually.
Because,
But not you and me. We will not die.
well, you never know. We'll die one day.
Well, hopefully not anytime soon.
I hope not anytime soon.
Oh, but Willie did tell me yesterday when I was at our house that if I die and Brian dies, she'll take my kids.
Well, that's
And then she proceeded to ask Alexandra if she wanted to be Kiki's sister.
Well,
I was like, okay, Willie will just take my kids.
speaking of dying, we can't because hockey games. But
True.
one of the guys at the DMV was wearing a Las Vegas Knights shirt and lanyard.
Was he?
He was an old dude that worked there, but I was sad that I didn't get to go to his
Like,
window so I could be like,
dang.
hey, talk hockey with me.
Because they're 2-0 right now, so
Yeah.
that's halfway to where they need to be.
And they just got to
And they won, both of the games, they've won by quite a few goals.
Yeah, what was it, like 5-0 the first one?
And then I
right?
think last time was like 2-7.
Dang.
Yeah.
So
Go
I-
Golden Knights.
I still love the Krakens more.
Same, but
They didn't make it.
that's
to the
okay.
Stanley Cup.
Next time.
Hopefully. You can do it, Alex Wenberg. We believe in you, you hot Swedish man.
We watched the highlight video and you're real good.
Yes. And also, you're really hot. So, what are your highlights for the first chapter?
Oh, for the first, let me make sure this is oh, I didn't highlight anything for the first chapter. I had stuff in the second chapter though.
Oh, I
Let's see,
highlighted
Holden.
page 8 when Kaya is just like super stressed out over like getting her paper in so that she can get that like internship thingy or whatever it is with
Yeah.
that professor. And she says, I've been thinking about it and I feel like I deserve to get railed this weekend.
That is page 1 of the book.
Oh, mine says page 8.
Well, yes, so does mine, but it's because it's all
Oh, that's right.
that's literally the first sentence of the book.
Oh, well,
Congratulations.
I just thought it was funny.
It was like that's literally the opening of the book.
What is your first highlight?
Oh, my first highlight is in chapter 2, and it's Holden. And he is talking about her. So after they go into the building, like he sees her panicking outside because they're supposed to present their project ideas or whatever to the panel. She goes in and he's just chilling out there. And then she comes out and he says she's in her element now, confidence radiating from head to toe, from her wide smile to her self-assured posture to the notable pep in her step. She's a vision. And that was the
Cute.
first thing I did. And that part at the beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, like,
Oh, yeah, I
He-
just did the end part where
Yes.
it says she's a fucking vision, isn't she? Well,
Yeah.
that's page 18. That's probably
yeah,
right.
that's what I have it. Yep. So, but that where I was like, okay, so she is like, I mean, they banter a lot back and forth, but you could tell he totally is like into her, and she's like,
I
she's
hate
driving me
you.
freaking insane.
She's
like,
like,
I
I-
hate you.
Because they're going for the same thing.
For
Like,
the
he
same
does play
thing.
hockey and he does want to go pro.
But he's getting his education, so he has something to fall back on because
Yeah.
he knows he's not going to play hockey forever.
Yeah.
And there's always a chance of injury.
Yeah, to where you can't
Play anymore.
So,
And then I had one other highlight that I'd done. And did you have anything else you did in chapter 2?
yeah, it was like towards the end where she's freaking out and I believe it's Ray that she's talking to. That's how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, because I Googled it.
Right.
Or is it Holden? No, it's Holden because this is his chapter.
Right.
And he's like, well, I'm
Uh-huh.
sure you killed it. You're gonna top your girl. Oh, no, this is right. I'm sure you killed it. You're going to top your girl Kaya, no doubt. I definitely fucking liked who I say grinning at the innuendo that slipped right over poor Rai Rai's head. That's one thing I know for sure.
That's legit what I
Are you
highlighted
serious?
too. Because we're the same person.
Yeah,
maybe.
pretty much. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd highlighted that too.
So, like, he's down bad for Kaya. And
Oh,
he has been for
yeah.
like 3 years. I like that, like, they're rivals, but, like, he's not, like, trying to be a jerk. He's not really trying to, like, one-up her.
No, he just
You
likes to
know?
rile her up.
Yeah. Which is, like, my favorite thing in the world.
I know,
love
it's
doing
the
that to
best.
people.
It's so funny.
That's why I was like, if I go to Vegas with you for your girls trip, I'm just gonna play into the whole thing.
I know. My sister's like, let's go to a show. And I was like, I couldn't even keep normal for a picture, Sydney.
I said we should go
I
to a
know.
show though.
I did talk to her, so I'll update you later.
And
about
I
if you come with
will
us to
make
Vegas.
you wear something that says it's my birthday. Even though it's not.
You're uninvited to Vegas. Never
I'll
mind.
wear a matching one.
Okay.
What if we do like wear it for a bachelor party? We're really not, but
we're not.
I'll wear my engagement ring
Okay,
over
say,
wedding ring,
"This is
and I'll
for
be like,
Ashley."
it's me. I'm the bride.
It's me.
It's me. Hi.
That's literally just what
I
went
was
through
just
my head.
listening to that song.
It's because Taylor is the mom.
She ends up at a party because she has a roommate. She does not really like her roommate. They're not really
No.
friends. Her roommate kind of like mooches off of her. She like never pays for the Uber.
Because
and-
her roommate knows that like her parents are rich. She comes from money. She has money, and so her roommate,
and she pretty much only invites her out because then Kaya pays for everything. Because
legit.
she'll like conveniently forget her wallet or whatever.
Yes, and like, oh, should we walk? How far away is it? Oh, just a couple minutes. How long? 6 miles.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll order an Uber. Oh, thanks. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could not.
But they get invited to a frat house party. And
Which is at the hockey house.
yes, but Kaya doesn't know that.
Nope.
And so she gets there and she's looking for the bathroom. Ray,
Right.
whatever,
Right. Yes.
tells her to
The
go
friend.
upstairs and it's this door. And
Oh,
whose
yes.
room does she walk into?
Holden's.
And he's laying there shirtless.
That is probably one of the best parts of the movie. In the book.
You just went to a movie.
I just went to me when he like points to where his bathroom is, and she has to walk through his walk-in closet, and it's like from her perspective, it's like, look at all these shirts he could put on.
Yes.
Like, why is he not wearing a shirt?
But in his defense, he's in his own
I
room with the
know, 'cause
door
he didn't want
closed.
to party.
But I think
That's
she's just
so
like,
funny.
he's so hot. Put a shirt on so I don't have to look at it.
Yes.
But my favorite thing is when she looks at him and she was like, you weren't about to like, because she thought she walked in on him masturbating. And I was like, that is so funny. She's like, oh God, she shudders, eyes quickly diverting to the crotch of my sweatpants, gesturing wildly toward the subtle outline of my dick. She all but whispers, you weren't about to like, and then he plays into it and he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. You need to be a little bit more explicit than that. And she's kind of like a little like uptight and she's like, you know exactly what I'm
Yes.
talking about. Don't make me say it. And then she still proceeds to use his bathroom. I would
Yeah,
like,
I'm
yeah,
like, let me go find the actual bathroom.
and then yell at your roommate.
Yes, like, oh, I'll kill you.
I think she does end up.
I think she yells at him. Yeah.
She mentions that she has a mission
Yes.
to go on, and he's like, what is it? And she's like, well, what do I get out of it?
Mhm.
And he's like, I won't show you up in class on Monday. And she's like, nope. And he's like, well, I can get Ray back for you. And she's like, nope. And he's like, what if I promise to help you? Like on her mission.
Oh yeah, and she's like, no.
Yeah. And then she's like, I'm not so sure you could. And then she's like, you know what? Fine. As embarrassing as this is, I'm looking for a hookup tonight. If you have any friends that aren't total jerks, I'd be down for a setup. And then this part, he's like, uncomfortable pinching sensation in his
Yes.
chest because he's like, but she didn't ask me.
I know. He's like, what the heck? No, not
He's
my
like,
friends.
Yeah, not my friends. He's like, Kaya Karis is mine to fuck with. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
He's like, no.
Is that how you say her last name? Karis? Karis?
Karis, Cars, I don't know.
I don't know. Karras. You can correct us if we're wrong. We're not good at pronouncing names.
Nah. Yeah, I thought, because, I mean, again, that just reinforced it for me that, like, he totally is, like,
Oh, yeah.
so into her, and she's like, no. Like, I honestly don't like you. You piss me off all
Yeah.
the time.
And that's literally, like, my
Like,
next highlight
every
is that
time.
you don't even like me.
Yes.
Because, like, she thinks that he's, like, being mean to her all the time, and she just doesn't really catch on to, like,
yes.
the playful banter, like, flirting of it
Yeah.
all.
Well, that's why I liked, after he drove her home, when he said, if you want to set real boundaries with me, Karis, I'll respect them. But something tells me you get some sort of sick enjoyment out of our bickering. I know I sure as hell do.
The next one that I have is he's telling her that there's nothing more he enjoys than riling
Right.
her up on a moment's notice. And he's like, well, that's a lie. Actually, it's hockey first.
And
And
then-
then, well, there's actual sex. So,
Yeah.
and then it's
And then
her.
you.
And then you.
I liked in that same chapter, like around that too, he says, I know we don't always get along, but you should know I never want to push you any further than you're willing to go.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like he says, he likes pushing her boundaries, he likes bantering with her, but he doesn't want her to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's
or
not gonna be like
anything
a total
that.
jerk. And then, like, right after he drives her home, and he drives a Ferrari. Like, who was in college driving a Ferrari?
Well, and then what was his excuse? Oh, I like to feel the breeze by the ocean. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but when I move to Florida by the ocean, I'm not gonna drive a Ferrari. But
Yeah, no. No.
I mean, I guess what else you can do when you're in college and have a bunch of money to blow?
Yeah, but that's the first night she has a sexy dream about Holden.
Without Holden.
I don't think I highlighted anything.
And
for
then
him
she's
to
just like,
talk about.
oh, my feelings, they're actually changing. And they get into a fight, don't they?
Yes, I'm trying to find it. She gets mad because they end up both being selected to work with this professor,
Right.
and she wanted to be the only one, so she doesn't want to have to share the spotlight with him. And so they kind of get into a fight over that because she was like, this was supposed to be my thing.
Right.
Like, I didn't want to have to share. Like, you could have picked any other professor. I still don't know, like...
Because she thought originally that Holden had picked this professor to just kind of screw with her. And he's like, no, actually, like, she's the best and whatever. And he ends up he has a hockey game and he ends up getting into the fight at the hockey game because the guy is just like a turd, essentially, to him.
He's like just a beast. Not
Yeah.
Holden, but this other
The
guy.
other
He
guy.
just like intentionally starts fights all the time.
Yeah.
But this was like one of my favorite parts is like when after they get into a fight, they kind of like talk and he like apologizes to her and he's like, and you're also sorry? And she was like, did I not just say that? And he's like, I didn't
No,
hear
you
those
didn't.
exact words. And she's like, fine, yes, I'm sorry. Does that make you happy?
Yes.
And that's why I love her because I'm like, yeah, I would do the same thing. I'd be like, I did.
I did.
I
It's
didn't have to
you
say
didn't
those exact words, but you know, like what I
It
meant.
was just like, I regret what I did.
She's like, I'm talking to you. Isn't that
Yes.
obvious that I am sorry?
Mhm.
And he's like, I thought I was a baby. She calls him a pig because she's called him a baby before.
Yes.
And
she
then,
calls them all these mean things. And what chapter are you in?
I'm on it's page 77.
Okay,
And-
that's what I have to.
So after this little apology session, he like gets all serious again. And he's like, you know, I missed you last week.
Yes.
And she's like, what? And he's like, I miss talking to you. This ignoring shit you've been doing, yeah, it doesn't really work for me. And he's like, if you're pissed at me, just tell me, fight with me, yell at me, but don't shut me out. I don't like seeing you everywhere and knowing that you're just going to look the other way.
I know. I really liked that too.
And I still feel like she didn't catch on to the fact that he likes her.
I know. Like, are you blind?
Yeah. Are you stupid?
Apparently.
Obviously not, because you are
Right.
getting a really good college education in something that I still don't know
I
what
know.
it is.
Well, and then she like doesn't really put two and two together, which then in the next chapter, something I highlighted was he said, hell, I straight up admitted that I missed her last week, that I want her in my life despite our constant bickering. and maybe she feels the same spark that I do, or maybe I'm inventing something more between us inside my head.
Yeah.
Because he is like trying to subtly put himself out there because he just can't tell with her. Like, does she feel it between them, or is she just like not interested at all? He just can't tell.
Yeah.
And she's just real oblivious, apparently.
Well, she's like, this side of him is nice, the one that's not afraid to express genuine human emotion, but she's like, I'm not ready to open myself up to him yet. I think it's just back to her overthinking and her OCD. I think she's just worried to like let people in.
Well, and in when they had that big fight and they were calling each other names, they both like hit each other's insecurities, not knowing about it.
Yeah.
Like the names she called him and the names he called her, they were both things
She
that they
just
were
called him a
insecure about. Oh, she says to him when they're having this fight, he says, I get you're upset, but I've earned this too, and it's not like she only has time for one student. He tells her, like, it's fine. We could both work with her. And she goes, no, she won't give me her full attention. And so she's all stressed out about it. And he tells her, sharing the same advisor is not the end of the world, Kara's. Stop catastrophizing. And she says, it's easy for you to say, isn't it? You've got hockey, your daddy's money, and your merry band of boys. But this is it for me, Becker. This is all I have. And now the one thing I wanted to myself, I have to share with you.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh.
And I just remembered what happened with her. Nobody in her family died. Her parents up and moved to Greece when her older sister graduates from high school. One. So then she had to go live with an aunt who didn't even like her.
Right.
And so she's just like, yeah, this is all I have. And then she has her friend, oh shoot, what is his name? I just looked at this chapter. Who...
Well, he wants to be known as, like, yeah, his dad does have money and stuff, but he wants to be known as, like, himself and not just for his dad. So when his dad, she commented on, like, oh, you have your dad's money and you have all this, and just, like, pisses him off.
Yeah. But her friend, Elio?
Elio, yes, that's how I said
it. So she ends up calling him when she's having a panic attack, like one of the first ones that she has in the book, to like help her through it and like talk her down. And her friend, I'm guessing it's an OnlyFans that he has. They don't like specifically mention.
Sure. No.
But he's like, I was asleep, but it's fine. Like, what's going on? But he is an ex-addict. And she is too. You don't find out until later in the book, but she had issues with Adderall. She was like abusing Adderall to like stay up and get ahead in school. So they kind of are each other's like sober companions.
Yeah,
you probably shouldn't
like
have
sponsor.
Like, you shouldn't have another addict be your sober
probably
companion.
Not, no.
But like I get that they've both been through
that.
Oh
yes. So yeah. And then when they have their fight, he tells her, he's like, what the hell do you want me to do? It's not like I went out of my way to steal her from you. We both earned top marks. We both wanted Katri as our advisor. It's not my fault that we might have to share her. Do you want me to email the panel back and tell them I changed my mind? And then she just looks at him like, that's exactly what I want you to do, actually.
Yeah.
Then he calls her a brat. She calls him a trust fund baby. And he calls her a spoiled little brat. And that was what they both were like really upset at each other. And then before she apologizes to him, he got in that fight at the hockey rink, and then he's talking about like his parents, and his dad wants him to find a nice girl who will support him as he goes to the NHL after college.
Well, his dad wants him to become a lawyer. He doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't want it. Like after college, he wants him to settle down or whatever.
Because his family has this law firm that they've had forever.
And he wants him to take it over.
Because he's like he has a brother, but his brother's kind of.
His brother's like the black sheep.
Yeah, he's like partying, like not in school or anything. But there's a party that she ends up going to after she gets off the phone with Elio. She goes with her roommate.
Yes.
Well, her roommate's already there, and she's like, hey, is there like hot guys there? And she's like, yeah, there's like plenty of hot guys. So she goes, and it's at Becker's house again, Holden's house. And she's talking to another guy, and he goes over there to cock block her.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, no.
The entire time.
He's like,
what are we talking about?
yeah, he's like, oh, I heard you are like a huge hockey fan.
And the guy's like,
He's like, what?
I'm not
It's like, not
actually,
really.
but-
And then she gets mad because, like, she's just trying to get some.
Mhm.
And where is this?
And
part?
he said, she says, or he goes, like, I'll do it. I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah.
And she is like, I don't understand. And he says, you must know I want you, Karas. I've wanted you for as long as I can remember. And if you're looking for just one night, then count me in.
I highlighted that too.
Did you?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I mean, she's just kind of oblivious. So he's pretty much just like, I will lay it all out there.
Yeah. And she's like, is this a joke? And he's like, no. And she's like, just one night. And he's like, yeah, just one night.
Yes.
And she's like, so you want to give me another ride? And he's like, a ride? And he's like, you mean that thing where you get in my car and I drive you home? And
Yes.
he's like, yeah, after that you can even come inside. And then he's like, okay, let's go. And then he's like, realizing that she's finally mine for just a momentary lapse in time means that I can't resist her for another second.
Yeah. I liked when well, she tells him, like, we can do anything but sex. I don't want to go there with you. When? And she just kind of like leaves and he says, when what? She goes, well, we don't even like each other. And he's like, come on. He's like, you still don't think that I like you? I adore you. And then he says, I admire the hell out of you. I think you're smart, funny, witty, beautiful. There's never a dull moment when we're around each other. And then he says, like, I've always taken notice of Kaya. And I'm like, okay, this guy's legit been pining after her for like 3 years. And she's like,
She's like,
Yeah.
yes. I like how, like, after that, they go to his car and he, like, pushes her against the car. And he's like, you sure you want this? And she's like, just kiss me already.
Yes.
She's like, let's, like, we don't need to make small talk. Like let's just
come
get
on.
this moving.
Then in the next chapter, she's like sick. She like gets sick. And he like brings her like soup and chocolate and he brings her an orchid. And I was like, that's so sweet. And she goes, what do you say? He said, oh, I was going to get you a bouquet of roses, you know, thorns since you're so damn prickly. But I figured this lasts longer. Besides, I already know you love the color purple. And she goes, how do you know that? And he said, you used to rock a big purple clip in your hair. It's like, and then she goes, freshman year? It's like, yeah, like he legit has always noticed her. And then she goes, no one's ever given me flowers before, or I should say a single flower. It's cute, I guess. She's like, oh,
She loves
sweet.
that flower.
She totally does.
And then she kills it.
And then she kills him, but that's fine. Well, then he is like feeling so, like she's still feeling sick, and he goes, he says, my immune system's top notch, like don't worry about getting me sick, I'm fine. And he says, promise me, like, you're not going to come back to class until you feel better. Let me take your notes. I'll email you after class, whatever. And she goes, why would you do that for me? And he said, if it wasn't obvious by now, I kind of gave a shit about you, Karis. And she goes, yes. And he's like, and I think you give a shit about me, too. And she goes, yeah, maybe I do. I'm like, okay. She's finally, like, admitting her feelings to him
Yeah.
after all this time.
Well, there's a part, it's a little bit back, but where she's like, you want to be my last resort, and he's like, as long as I'm your something.
Yes. Like, he just wants her so bad.
Yeah.
And that he's just, like, willing to take whatever.
Well, she's like, he's like, I think you care about me too, and she's like, maybe I do.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe we'll see. I'm not sure yet.
And then he ends up calling her baby, and she's like, I'm not your baby. And he's like, you are when we're alone. Because, like, he's,
Yes.
like, knows that she wants him even though he hasn't admitted it.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know, we can just do this in private, but like, you know,
you
you're my
like
baby.
me. Yeah.
I hate when people call me that. I'm like, I'm a grown woman.
I'll just change your contact name. I'll say Ash Batwings, parentheses.
Grown
woman. I'm going to have to be like, Siri, text Ashley Batwings, grown woman.
I hate being called cute because I'm like, I'm not a child.
30.
Don't mind me. I still have like 10 months to go before I'm 30, okay?
And we'll have a grand party and it'll be great. It'll be great.
Let's see, I have a part that I highlighted where he's talking about how he wants to, this is like right after he's like, you're my baby as long as we're alone, where he's like, I want to be able to wake up with her in the mornings and not have to worry about whether or not I crossed a line. He wants to take care of her when she's sick and not have to practically force her into it.
Yes, I highlighted that part too.
Most times he doesn't end up staying the night. He ends up leaving afterwards.
Well, the part that like kind of crushed my soul was when he said, I want to fight with her and not have to fear that she'll never speak to me again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
I want security, trust, to be the person she comes to when she's in need. But for the first time in weeks, I'm not sure the two of us are on the same page.
Yes.
I think it's like more towards the end of the book. It's before they go to the convention, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where she does like open up to him about her OCD because she has trichomania, so she pulls her hair out, and so she wears her hair to the side, and that's why she had the purple clip, was to like pin her hair back to hide the bald spot.
Well, now they're gonna be staying in the same hotel room while they're at this conference, and so she's like, just wants him to know before he just
but
sees
he noticed before this too,
Yeah.
and he's like, I made a mental note to ask her about it later, and then she ends up telling him that like when she freaks out, she rips her hair out, and so there are like times in the book where she's talking about she's like pulling on her hair and like twisting it. Luckily, I don't do that with my OCD. I just have complete meltdowns.
That's okay.
Where I'm like, everything is wrong and I'm gonna die now because I did something out of order, and that's not okay. And I'm not the type of person that can go back and like redo it in order, because I'm like, that doesn't fix anything. I know some like people with OCD are like me, and they have everything that they do in a specific order every single day, and if they like skip it or mess something up, they'll go back and start it over. For me, I'm like, if I mess it up,
like, it's too late. You gotta just keep going.
Like, every time I shower, it's all the same, and if I like mess up a shower step, I'm like, oh, my life is ending.
Get out now. Start over.
I'm like, I screwed up. There's nothing I can do about it. So I live in a crazy world where everything is a strict routine every single time. I drive the same way every single time. Nobody follow me and murder me, please. I know you shouldn't do that. Like, I have to.
I know. Well, I noticed that about the driving when I drove us to Willie's for book club, and I went the different way. Like, what are we calling? I take Mountain View, and I'm like, this is how my Google says to get there, Ashley.
And I'm like, I hate this.
And then I drove. Did I drive the same way as you when we went to the second Grizzlies game?
Yeah,
I think so.
No, because you got on.
I got on Bangerter.
And I was like, I'm not getting on Bangerter, just so you know. I don't drive on the highway or the freeway.
I avoid any public roads.
I just hate driving in general. I did drive on Bangerter today, though.
Good job, because we had to get downtown, so how else are we going to get downtown from where we live without Bangerter?
Well, Bangerter's closer than the freeway entrance, so I was like, just get on Bangerter, and I was like, okay.
Like, if I
have to. Luckily, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too busy, so.
Yeah. Well, right after this is when we finally... He says, it's become crystal clear to me that I'm falling for her, that I want more than just a casual hookup or some insignificant fling. So he totally is like, I actually like legit want to be with this girl. And the next chapter is where she's like, oh my gosh, I actually like him.
Yeah, and she's like, but that's when it hit me, like a ton of bricks, like a train that just ran me over, like a hurricane. I have a crush, an actual bona fide crush on Holden Becker.
Yeah.
And it takes her almost half the book.
I know.
Over half the book to get there, because it's just over 300 pages, and this is page 186.
Yep. And she says, this is like butterflies in my stomach, heart racing, can't stop thinking about him kind of crush. And it's freaking me out. She's like, no, I don't like him like that. And it's like, just kidding. You do.
And then Holden like finally tells her, he's like, I think about you when we're apart all the time. I want you,
Yes.
Kaya, and it's for more than just adult relations, for good banter. When I'm bored, there's not a world in which I do better than you. I want you, Kaya. Every conceivable part of you, tell me you want me to.
Yes.
And I don't know what she says because I didn't highlight it. So I'm guessing, did she say anything back? 193.
Yeah. Well, so right before he says that to her, they are. What are they? They're at like a party again. They always party at college, apparently. In college hot books, they're always partying.
I went to
So-
no parties, but also I was like the oldest person in all the classes
So
probably. So I went to
true.
community college after
Right.
I went to USU and I moved here.
So then she goes to this party and she sees him with his arm around a different girl, and she gets like super
Pissed.
jealous and pissed, and then he goes, oh, like, I do care about you, I'm glad you showed up, I want to talk to you. And he goes, she says, about what? And he goes, I had this whole speech planned, actually, and then when you said you weren't coming, I kind of threw it all out the window. And she says, oh, is this some sort of breakup speech? Because, we're not really together, right? And he goes, but that's the thing, we could be. And she's like, what? And then that's when he is like, no, I really like you, and I want us to be together. Tell me you want me, just like you said.
And I think,
And then they're like, oh, so we're together now?
yeah, so they go to this convention
Yeah.
thing at this college that they both really want to go to. Well, he wants to go to it if he doesn't make it to the
Make it
NHL.
to NHL. And she
She
wants,
wants to go for whatever
for her
degree.
next degree, yeah.
What is it that they're studying?
Something real smart.
Smart
I don't
little
remember.
stuff. Just read the
Yeah,
book and you can
it's-
tell us in the comments.
Because the college she currently attends is where she wants to do
She
her...
goes to Coastal U.
Yeah, it's where she wants to do her continuing studying, but this one doesn't really do the program, so she's thinking maybe she'll do that.
Yeah, and so they go and they listen to a bunch of people speak at this place about like their own studies for whatever it is, some sort of like sports medical sciencey stuff.
Something.
It's something like that.
And so there's all these different like workshops they can attend, all these things like that, and
They go with the professor that they're like studying with or whatever. But they've already like established that they like each other, so they're like,
Yeah.
we can't like hold hands.
Yeah,
we want to be
'cause
professional.
we
We
don't-
don't want to seem like we're a couple.
yes.
But then they go back to the hotel because she wasn't originally gonna go. I think she was gonna skip it,
yeah,
or he was gonna miss it.
he was gonna miss it because he had a game.
But he gets a hotel, and she had her own room, and he's like, cancel your hotel room. You're staying
We're
with
staying
me.
together.
And I think that's the night that they like make it official. It could be.
It's
before
at
that,
this
but-
party. It's at this party when he says like, but we
I think
could
that's
be
before
together.
then.
Yeah. Yes, it is before they go to the conference. Because then she goes, I don't want to lose you, and he says, we're giving this a real shot, like we're together, but my favorite thing was when she goes, so we're together, and he goes, I'm not speaking in riddles, and she says, so you and I are going to go on dates and be nice to each other in public? Yes, and he goes, if you can manage to tolerate it. Like, oh my gosh, like because I mean that's how they've been, and that's how everybody knows that's how they've been, is just all this like fighting and stuff. But then I thought it was funny when he when they're like, I think they're okay, so now they're at the conference thing, and they're like talking, and they're talking to their professor or whatever. They make a plan to go to the different sessions or whatever, and they get back to their hotel, and she's like, they're talking about it, and because I think they both had to like present something, didn't they?
I
Or
think
something.
No, they go and then they have to write a paper, and she's freaking out about it
That's what it was.
because to backtrack a little bit, they each had to like start writing a thesis, and
Yes.
she gets mad because the professor, Dr. Khatri, liked Holden's and didn't
not
have
hers.
any
Yes,
thing
any
to
complaints.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, like yours could be a little bit better, like you could have Holden help you.
And she's like,
She's like,
screw Holden.
absolutely not. And then after they get back, she freaks out. She is having
Yes.
a hard time. Her anxiety's really bad now because she is so stressed over having to like write this
Yeah.
paper because she wants to get all these things sent into all the colleges she wants to go to. And so she's freaking out, and she's like, you know, not able to sleep. She's not really talking to Holden very much. They're not hanging out. So
Yeah.
she calls Elio, and he comes over and stays the night. And her roommate is a total jerk.
Yeah.
She's all pissed about something because her
Oh, I
and
know
her
what it
roommate
was.
get
Right,
in the fight
big fight.
because she thinks that Holden should have to pay part of the
Part
rent,
of the rent.
or that Kaya should have to pay more because Holden is staying over.
Yes.
And so that causes a big fight, and she's like, I'm not paying more rent. I'm not charging him to stay here a couple of days a
Yes.
week, you know?
Right.
So then the roommate's mad, and Holden goes over there because he like wants to talk to her, and she's like
Right.
ignoring him. And the roommate's like, yeah, come on in. And he
Right.
sees Elio in Kaya's bed.
and gets pissed.
Yeah, and he's like, I know, like, she wouldn't cheat on me or anything like that.
And he's like, but I don't understand what's happening here.
Yeah, and he's like, I know they're friends and all of this stuff, but he's still like upset
Yes.
that like she wouldn't go to Holden because that's like her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I love
everything.
the part before that when they're still at the conference, when they go back to the hotel room together that first night, and she's like, isn't this weird? And he goes, what? And she says, sharing a hotel room, complimenting each other, and genuinely meaning it. And he goes, I sure hope not, considering the fact that you're my girlfriend. And she's like, what? And he goes, we're dating exclusively, sleeping together nearly every night, yet for some reason you didn't think you were my girlfriend? And she goes, well, you never asked. And then he tries to ask her, and she goes, no. She says, if you want me to be your girlfriend, ask me properly. And she goes, no. And then she says, ask me again when it's not an afterthought. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Fair. But
Right.
so they get in this huge fight, and she's like freaking
Yes.
out, being like, are you breaking up with me? And he tells her, like,
Oh,
she's like,
yes,
can I
here
just
it was.
explain? And he's like, and she's like, I'm going through stuff right now. And she's like, you know, and he's like mad because she's like, won't tell him. And he's like, I thought I could do this with you. I really did, but I
Yes.
just can't. And she's like, so that's it. We're done. We're breaking up. And he's
Right.
like, no, we're not done. I'm not breaking up with you. He's like, I just want to be there for you, to be your person,
Yeah.
the one you come to when you need something, when you can't sleep in the middle of the night, when you're like super anxious and you're pushing me away and letting your friend in. And I'm starting to always think it will be that way.
Yes.
So he's upset that,
Well, and then she says, I don't want it to be that way. Like, I want to let you in. He goes, then why aren't you? She just goes, it's hard. He's like, that's not a reason. I know you can do hard things. And then she says, like, she's scared. And he's like, if you're looking for an out, I'm not going to give you one. Like, no.
yeah. And she's just worried that, like, if she tells him about, like, her past Adderall addiction and her
Yes.
OCD, that he's going to freak out and want to leave.
Judge him.
So
Judge her, yeah.
it doesn't say, but I'm guessing she's probably had an ex-boyfriend that was like, whoa,
Yeah.
like, you're too much. Like, I'm out.
Probably is what I was thinking, too.
But he just is like, I need a break.
I know, and it makes me so sad because then they're all just fighting, and she goes, I don't want it out, and he says, it sure as hell seems like it. I was willing to give you more time and space if that's what you really needed, but seeing Elio in your bed this morning, well, it shows me that you did need someone to be there for you after all. Unfortunately, that person wasn't me. And she says, I'm sorry, Holden, about calling him instead of you, but I do need you too. You know I do. And he goes, too little, too late for that. And I was like, oh. And he goes, and you know what else? I needed you too. Last night, this morning, I got a bomb dropped on me, and you were the first person I wanted to talk to about it. And then she's like, oh no, what happened? He goes, no, we're not talking
Yeah,
about
he's
this.
like,
No.
It's just crazy that he's like this upset. He's like, we're not breaking up.
Right.
He's like, it's a bump in the road. There's bound to be more of them. Like, this is on
Right.
you. And I'm like, okay, if you're saying that, why are you like losing it completely?
Right.
Like, chill out, but he doesn't talk to her for like an entire week.
Yeah, which it's like,
And then he's like, I'm finally ready to talk.
yes. Oh, that's what she says. Like, when you're ready to talk, let me know. And he goes, we should just take the week and let things settle. I'm like, this is a long freaking time to just be like not talking to each other.
Yeah.
Or
He's like,
more.
let's just take a week to let
Right.
things settle and then we can talk. And she's like, I understand. We'll talk later. Miss you. And he just
Right.
says, me too. And I would have cried.
I would have
so
cried
much
too.
if he didn't.
That made me so upset. I
He's
was
like, you
oh.
can't even say miss
Like,
you
I
too.
miss
He's
you
just like, me
too.
too.
I
I'd have been
know.
like,
It's
oh my God, he hates me.
Right.
That's probably what she was thinking because,
Well, and then she decides, like, she's ready to be all in. She needs to show him. So she drives to his game,
yeah.
which is, I don't know, a couple hours away.
Yeah.
So she shows up at the game, and she's like,
This is the away game.
the
that he
away
goes
game
to.
that he's going to. And she's just, like, so impressed. And then halfway through the game, that's when Rye points her out, and he like looks at her, and then he's just like smiling.
Well, she got a jersey that says his
that
name on
has his
it.
name.
So
And then he mouths to her, "That's my girl," and I was like, "Oh, that's sweet."
and then the end of the game, he tells her that he scored that last goal for you. I hope you were
Yeah.
paying attention. And she's like, "Are you trying to impress me?" And he's like, "You know, I always am."
Always am. I was like, "Oh, that's sweet." So then he.
Oh, the time that they share the hotel room is after the hockey game. So they don't get a hotel room at the... I knew they shared one somewhere,
they
but
had
it
one at
wasn't
the
at the
convention.
conference because it's like a 2-hour drive. So I think they just drove home.
No, because it was an overnight, because they stayed there
Oh, that's right. but they didn't
overnight, and that's
share a
when she
room.
was like girlfriend or
'Cause
whatever.
She got her own room.
That's
for
right.
the hockey game.
Not
and he's
knowing
like,
what it is.
cancel it. Like, you're staying in my room. And then she
Yes.
texts him and says, waiting for you in our room. And he like runs inside. Like, the coach isn't supposed to know because he's staying with the team.
Right.
So he
So
like
it's, like,
kicks
kind of
Ray
a
out of his
secret
room. He's
thing.
like, get out. It's like, you
Go somewhere
can't
else.
Go
You can't
find
be in
someone
my
else
room.
to stay with because she is staying with him.
Right.
And then they talk, and she's
And
like,
the-
I'm sorry for
Yeah.
pushing you away. You didn't deserve it. You don't deserve the way I've been treating you.
She's just been scared that
yeah.
he would look at her differently, and that she realizes by like pushing him away that that's more likely to actually happen. And he's like, I don't understand. Like, I've tried to be nothing but supportive or whatever, and she said she's gonna let him in. But the thing that he says, you know, I don't mind you leaning on your friend for support. I know you two have a lot of history, but I just want to be looped in. Part of it all. I don't want to feel like an outsider in my own relationship. And I don't feel like she probably realized that that's how she was making him feel when she's like pushing him away, and then he shows up and she's there with Elio
Yeah.
in like her moment of need.
But then she explains to him that he's her sober companion.
Right.
And,
And
her
he's like,
accountability
"Oh."
check. And he's like an alcoholic. And she's like, no, I was
Just
addicted to
Adderall.
Adderall. And that she was like still being like having a hard time. That's why she
Right.
doesn't sleep. And she needed somebody to be there. And like she talks about how Elio was the one to help her get clean. And, you know, she was there when he got out of rehab and everything. And he's like, okay. He understands now, like, the depth of their connection.
Right.
And he's like, I didn't know.
Well, and his brother has like drug problems and stuff, and so she didn't tell him before because she felt like he was just going to judge her based on his brother.
Yeah. Because he does make a comment earlier on to Elio about
yeah.
how he got in a fist fight with his brother and, like, beat the crap out of his brother. There is a book before this. You don't have to read them
Yeah.
for the stories to match up, but it is about Elio's brother, so it might mention the fight in there into more detail. But like, it was kind of a cheap shot at Elio,
Oh, definitely, yeah.
because he thought that like Elio liked her, and he
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
understand.
He thought they were
like together,
dating. Yeah, together for a while until she was like, no.
Even
Just
if
like
that's so rude to just like say something to
I
somebody's
know,
boyfriend.
right? So, and then he admits what's been bugging him, which is that his parents are gonna get divorced. That his mom finally asked his dad, and then his dad just told him, and that's why he like panicked and went to go tell her. And it's not that he was necessarily blindsided by it, but I mean, he kind of was. Like, his parents didn't have a good marriage, his mom wasn't happy, all this stuff, but he didn't think they were ever actually going to get divorced. And then suddenly his dad's just like, your mom has filed for divorce. And he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think he mentions earlier in the book, like, why don't you just leave, Mom?
Yeah, like, why don't you just leave?
Because you have all these girlfriends. Okay.
That's what it is, yeah.
You know, there was this huge point in here, so this is like backtracking a bit again, but her sister comes to visit, and her and her sister don't have the best relationship.
No.
Her sister's been engaged a couple times, kind of goes through boys like Taylor Swift.
Essentially.
And so she's like, I have a date with this lawyer guy, and I expected it to be Holden's dad.
Okay, I did too, and I was like,
that would have been
please
the
don't be
greatest
his dad.
twist, though, if they show up at this diner and it's Holden's dad and like her sister.
Woo.
It's not. He's just some like douchebag
Right,
lawyer,
and
and
that's what
they're
he was.
both so rude, and so they just try to make them uncomfortable by like touching each other and all of this
Yes.
stuff, and then they like leave the diner like laughing because they're like, that dinner was terrible.
That was awful. Right. Well, and I think the point that he had made in the beginning was like his mom doesn't want to just leave because she doesn't have anything. She doesn't work, and so it's like everything is tied with his dad, and his dad's trying to present this like perfect family type
Yeah.
thing.
She gets
even
alimony,
though they're
so it
not.
works
Yeah.
out.
So then he tells her, and she goes, "I'm so sorry. Like, should have been there." And he goes, "It's okay. You're here now." And then they make up.
They're gonna say make out. They probably do
They
that.
probably
too.
do. So they go back to school after this. They're meeting with their like professor, whatever, and she tells them that she's going to be doing that series of lectures, and she wants one of them to do it. And like they need to discuss amongst themselves and pick
Who gets
one
to
of
go.
them. And it's like, oh, perfect. So then they're like, I'm doing it, and they each think they're going to do it. And then they go back to the apartment, and he's like, don't worry, I'll talk to her about it. And then he just like legit starts offering her money.
Doesn't he give her like 10 grand?
Yeah, I think so.
And then I think he drops it down to 5 because she's like, you're not serious. And he's like,
Yeah.
I'll give you 5 grand right now.
Right.
And she takes it. If I was her, I'd been like, I was just kidding.
Yeah, right?
Like, but she's like so money hungry. She's like, I'll take 5 grand.
Right. And I'm like, what the heck? And she's like, well, and she goes, is there a reason that you're opposed to staying at your house? And he's like, well, I'd really like to sleep with her in her own bedroom.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, whatever. I'm like, she is the worst. But then, I love when Kaya, oh my gosh, Kaya was like, do you seriously just bribe my roommate with 10 grand? He goes, well, it's my dad's money anyway. Not like I did anything to earn it. He's like giving his dad's money away. No cares in the world.
He
Like,
doesn't like his dad very much.
No.
So it's all good. But then Kaya has to send out college applications with like she has to write the essays to go along with them. She sends them to all of these different ones. She's freaking out because she doesn't really want to go
Right.
to one out of state where she's going to be away from Holden because of his like hockey career. It's
Right.
there at whatever
at
their
the
coastal
school right now.
town is
Yeah.
called. The college is in coastal U, and she wants to go to a different college. It's like what, 4 hours away or something like that. It's a bit of a drive, but like it's not anything that they aren't willing to like work out if she can do that. But she also wants to get into the program at Coastal U. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
that
like
one
her
or
top
the other
choice.
one.
Yeah.
I think she does get into the one at Coastal U, but I think she takes the other one because
takes
she
the
likes
other one.
the professors and
Yeah.
stuff there. So, but she's like freaking out, and he's like, "You're gonna be fine. Like you've
Like,
got
you're gonna-
this."
Yeah.
And
Well, and I love when they go back into her room, and he like wants to open the blinds, and she's like, "No!"
Don't. He's like, "Are you a vampire?"
He calls her a vampire, and she goes, and he opens it, and it's like, oh, and it's like the orchid is dead, and she goes, "I thought it was a symbolic plant." And it's like, what? And he goes, "I will buy you whatever you want, like however many flowers you want. It's one stupid thing, like it's not symbolic of our relationship. You just killed this orchid I bought you.
Okay, funny story though. So when me and Eric were first dating, I'd say like maybe 2 months in to dating, like we just like went to Walmart and we left with a cactus and I named it Phyllis. And I kept Phyllis for a while.
Like from The Office?
No, I
Oh.
just was like, what do I name it? I'm like, okay, Phyllis. And she died, and I was like, oh no.
You're like,
I was
our
like,
relationship's gonna die.
I was like, I killed our cactus. Like, I'm a terrible person. So I took a while before I told him, by the way, our cactus died. Sorry.
Ooh.
And I've killed several more and several succulents.
Say, when we have all
Succulents.
those roses out front, right? We take some to my grandma's on Sunday, and my grandpa goes, oh, you have a green thumb? And I went, absolutely not. But Brian does, so here's some flowers.
He got me a rose plant too, and I named it
Yeah.
Meredith, and it died.
Ah, okay, well, you just do not have plants,
I have
apparently.
a plant. I do not remember what it's called. It's thriving. It does have some things that have died,
Yeah.
but I can just pull them off, and then like new ones have grown on it. So I'm like, whatever plant this is, man, it is living. Maybe it's because
Yes.
I didn't name this one. I could not.
That's
think
it.
of Any name.
Just don't name them.
And so I'm like, okay, yeah, well, makes sense.
So, I don't know. And then that is close to the end, though. Then they end up telling each other that they love each other, which I was like, oh, good. Now at the last page, right before the epilogue. But I thought it was cute. And then the epilogue just ends with, it's how many years later is it?
This is the one. Okay, I was at Jude's birthday. You guys, I had not finished this book. This was one that I actually recommended to Raven. She always recommends them to me.
Yes.
I had not finished it yet because it was Jude's like birthday week, and so I was
Yes.
super busy. And I'm at his birthday party, and she spoiled the end for me because what happens, Raven?
But he gets into the NHL and he asks her to marry him?
He proposes to her, and she sent me that, and I'm at
I was
Jude's
like, "They're getting
birthday,
married?"
and I start yelling, "Raven spoiled the ending of our book!" I'm so mad, and like Willie and Jessica are just like, "Okay," like, and I'm like, "You guys don't understand. It was a big deal. They're getting married.
They are getting married, yes. Because, so it's 2 years later. The epilogue is 2 years later. He is in the NHL. She's doing her schooling.
Does it say what she's going to school for?
I do not see it. It just says she has been, where is it? Excelling in her studies.
I like how, what is that? Weyerhaeuser.
I know, Weyerhaeuser. That's like their lecture hall. And every time I saw it in the book, I'm like, I literally don't know how to pronounce
it's
this
German.
word. Probably. So, but he goes back to the school because she's like guest lecturing. So she's giving this lecture and it's really cute. And then he takes her out to the, like out to the water.
The lighthouse. There is a scene where he
lighthouse.
takes her to a lighthouse for her to just kind of like
Yeah,
chill.
just chill. And so they're just like hanging out, and he goes, "Hey, Kara," and she says, "Yeah." He goes, "I know you've got a lot going on right now, but do you think you'd be at all interested in marrying me?" And like that's how he proposes, and I'm like, you took her to this nice romantic spot. You just said, "Would you be interested in it?" Like, what? And she goes, "Yeah, you could say that I'm interested."
Okay, but when Brian proposed, did you get like this like romantic speech? Like how did
I
that
did.
go?
You want me to tell you?
Yes.
Have I never told you this story?
No, have I
okay.
told you mine? You tell me yours first, and then I'll tell you mine.
Okay, and then we'll judge it based on it. You need to scoop it. We're like, this book was not as romantic. Okay, so it was on Brian's birthday. His mom had got tickets for all of us to go see this comedy show with, I want to say, Enrique Iglesias, and that is not right.
That is a
That is a
musician.
singer. But it was Gabriel Iglesias. That's who it is.
One of
He goes
the
by Fluffy.
Iglesiases.
Anyway, so we go out to dinner and we went to some place to eat downtown, but the comedian had like some family stuff going on or whatever, so he had to reschedule the show, but we'd already had reservations. So we go up to eat downtown and we all order our food, and I'm like, I need to go pee, but I'm gonna wait for my food to get here. And Brian goes, well, if you go now, then when your food gets here, you can just eat and it'll stay warm. And I was like, that's such a good idea. So I go to the bathroom. I'm like, he is so smart, making sure my food is nice and hot. And I come out, And he's like walking towards it, like, oh, maybe he had to pee too or something. No, then he just like drops on one knee and he's like proposing to me in this restaurant. And I'm like, oh, you tricked me into going to the
I would have been
bathroom.
mortified.
Well, it was just like us and just his family. There's nobody else around. So it was like just his parents and his siblings or whatever. But I was like, oh. I thought I just was going to the bathroom so my food would stay warm, but it wasn't. But when I left to go to the bathroom, he just like pulled the ring out of his pocket and told his family he was going to propose. They had no idea. None of us had any idea. And I was like, what the heck? But like a week before that, we had gone to go to a Grizzlies game because he won tickets from the radio. And I went to like open the center console. My ring was in there. And he goes, I'll get them. I was like, okay. Like you're really touchy about your Camaro, Brian.
Yeah.
So when we got married. I mean, not that day, but...
I knew that I was getting engaged a week before I did because I went and picked out my own ring.
See, I knew we'd be getting engaged because I had my dress picked out and we had the temple reserved.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I was like, it's going to happen sometime before this. But when before this, I just don't know.
I knew the exact day. It was on our anniversary.
Oh,
we already
see,
kind of planned
perfect.
it because we had reservations downtown at the Melting Pot.
I love the melting pot.
I was so sad when we were done because we had our leftovers and
Oh,
we
yeah.
left them on the table.
Ah.
But before we went to dinner, we were like walking around, and I did almost break my ankle. That was fun.
Perfect.
Because I had heels on,
Yep,
and there was
that
like a
sounds
crack,
right.
and I tripped. And two guys were walking by. They laughed at me. They didn't ask if I was okay. They just laughed at me, and
Oh
I'm
my
like, great.
Perfect.
But then we like went to this weird structure thing. I don't know what it is. It was like weird. It's not really the best backdrop, and we like took our own picture afterwards. But he just like gets down on one knee and just goes, Ashley, will you marry me? Like as fast as possible. And I'm like, why are you? We had been together for 3 years at this point, and Ellie was like a year and a half, or yeah, a little over a year and a half. And so I'm like, we've been together for 3 years, and we have a kid.
Together.
So I'm like, what are you so
You're like,
weird
why would I
about?
have said no? Like,
I wish I could go back in time and just say no, just to like mess with him.
yeah.
But it wasn't very romantic, and I knew, but it's fine.
That's
It is what it is. My sister's like, why don't you guys just have a wedding? Like we can't
Right.
get married for
Yeah,
personal
all your
reasons. I'm not
stuff.
going to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
But
Which we've talked
Um,
about before.
she's like, why don't you just have a wedding? And I'm like, no, don't tell me that, because now I like low key do want to
Legit,
have
like
a
an
wedding.
Avatar reception, and we're all gonna be in dresses.
She's
from
like, you don't have to like
Lars.
tell his friends or anything. Like, why you guys like they don't have to know that you're not like legit married. I'm like, well, I don't know why I wouldn't tell them.
Yeah.
I'm like, they've been his friends for years, and I've known them for almost a
yeah,
decade
that'd be weird.
now.
Like, welcome to
So,
our wedding.
It's not like they would have to like give us presents or
Yeah.
anything. Plus, everybody's always like,
Just
well,
have,
why
like, a
aren't you
big
married?
party.
And I'm like, because the universe said not to.
Ugh.
So that's why. But mine wasn't anything special. Eric, don't listen to this podcast ever.
So yes, but see,
Probably
I feel
agrees.
like I really loved this book, but then I just felt like for me, like I don't know, I felt like the proposal was kind of like a letdown. Like it could have been done better because we've read quite a few where like they
It's a
do
big
get
grand
engaged and it's like
gesture.
this. Yeah. Okay, so I just finished a different book that I'm just gonna kind of relate to this. So it's one by Hannah Cohen. Oakley and Ava. Okay, remember I had you read their book? So it's their daughter, Adeline, and then their friend Adam is his son, Cooper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they get, which we'll have to read in July, but they go to Europe. They accidentally get married.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, they accidentally get married in Ireland. Yeah, in Ireland or whatever. And so then, okay, this will totally be spoiler, but then it's like, then he like proposes to her because it turns out it was just somebody scamming them. Because, I mean, when you're an American and you're going to, you're super drunk and you're in Ireland and you think you're getting married and it's like, you don't
An
know.
old Irish wedding.
Right,
The Irish
yes.
goodbyes. You just leave.
Yes, so
So-
then it's like, so I don't know, I feel like there's just been some other ones where we've read where the proposal has been like really grand and great and this one I just felt like it's like, hey, shall we?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like,
I feel like there
Come
should
on,
have been like
Holden.
a follow-up book to this where they get
Yes.
engaged and he's in the NHL and it would have been so cute if he made this big deal like
Yes.
during a game and is like really, but I guess she's only ever been to one hockey game that we know
Right.
of his, so maybe it wasn't like their jam.
yeah, so I
But-
feel like that for me was a letdown, but I did like that, I mean, even though they got in that big fight, he didn't like dump her and be like, peace.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I
Kinda.
understand why he was mad, but like at the same time, it's like they both kind of made mistakes, but I like that because I feel like it also in a lot of the ones we've read, it's like they get in a fight and then
There
it's
is
like,
no
we're done.
third act breakup in this.
Yes.
And that's like our favorite thing.
That
is
was our
when
favorite.
that doesn't happen.
yes,
Sometimes I do like when it happens, but like,
sometimes, but
could you imagine if Feyre and Reese ever broke up? If they would have had a third act breakup?
you know we'll talk about this off podcast because I know some things. So
For Wings and Ruin or
nope,
the fifth one?
yep.
The tea. The
The
cereal
tea.
tea. Cereal is gonna spill some tea after
Oh,
this.
yes.
Um,
But I don't know. Out of 5 stars, what would you say you? would
I
give
give it
this
like
one?
a 4.5. I
That's
thought
what
it
I
was
did.
solid. Like, it reminded me of Like I Never Said.
Which
It gave
is my
me,
favorite. It gave me the same feels.
yeah,
Which I mean, I did like this. I just feel like there were a couple things that I was like,
yeah.
like it.
I feel like the ending was kind of rushed, but other than that,
yeah,
I liked it. I thought it was a pretty solid book. I
Right.
like both the characters. I don't
Me
like that
too.
they call each other by their last names. I get it was kind of like a rival thing at
Yeah.
the beginning, but I'm like, can you guys just call each other by your first names?
yeah.
Not like the movie Call Me By Your Name. Listen, I know everybody likes that movie, but I watched it and I was so bored. I was like, Armie Hammer is a creep, by the way. He's probably like what did they say? Is a cannibal.
Yeah.
There's some tea about that.
Well, and when we do Ready Player One next week or in a couple weeks, we're gonna have to talk about the book versus the movie because I like the movie. You do not like the
I
movie.
hate the movie so much.
So we're gonna have to like talk about it.
Yeah.
And all the
I also
feelings.
have thoughts about the Hunger Games movies. So.
Okay, so we'll do Hunger Games and Harry Potter, and we'll do Ready Player One, and it'll be great.
And Twilight.
And freaking Twilight.
I watched that last night with
I
Ellie.
feel like I need to now.
and you've seen the movie.
I know, but I feel like I need to rewatch it.
Okay, I was like, you can't tell me you have not
Oh
seen
no,
these
I've
movies.
seen these.
What do you rate the book?
Yeah, probably like a 4 or 5. Probably 4.5. Because I mean, I liked the book, but there were just like the ending thing, like I said, that I was like, so I'd say probably a 4.5 as well.
Yeah. I thought it was great. And I don't know if you have any more thoughts on the
I
book.
don't think so. I mean, I liked it. I would recommend it. I do like, but there's no third act breakup, so
Yeah.
which was refreshing.
Yeah, considering pretty much all of the books we've read do have that. We're gonna go spill some tea now, and then I have to go to work because I'm working for Raven tonight because she's got girls camp
Yeah,
stuff. So
I gotta go tie dye some shirts.
fun.